Tesla tycoon Elon Musk had earlier challenged Meta boss Mark Zuckerberg to a cage fight. But the launch of Threads, Twitter's rival, may provide the real action because Meta Platforms is launching a Twitter rivaling microblogging app called Threads. This days after Twitter chair Elon Musk attracted criticism by announcing a temporary cap on how many posts users can read on the social media site. Threads is a text-based conversation app that's widely seen as an alternative to Twitter. Like Twitter, the app will allow users to write and share real-time text updates among group of followers, allowing them to like, reply, share and send direct messages. Threads is expected to be released on Thursday and will allow users to retain followers from Instagram. Now remember, Elon Musk sparked a flurry of criticism on Saturday when he introduced temporary limits on the number of posts users could view, which he said was an attempt to address extreme levels of data scraping and system manipulation on the platform. Now, Twitter's newly appointed chief executive Linda Yaccarino also received criticism for not publicly speaking on the matter. Twitter has also suffered several outages as Musk has slashed staff numbers and cut costs in an attempt to boost its finances. Here's more.
Meta Platforms is launching a rival to Twitter, dubbed Threads, on Thursday. The new product is a text-based microblogging app connected to Meta's Instagram. Users will be able to follow the same accounts as they do on the photo-sharing app and keep the same username. That's according to its listing on Apple's App Store. Social media analyst Drew Benvey says the new product looks like a serious challenger.
I think Threads is going to pose a huge threat to Twitter because it's coming from the Meta and Instagram family of apps. Instagram has 2 billion users compared to around 250 million of Twitter, so it's about 10 times bigger already. So if only 1 in 10 Instagram users tries using Threads, it's overtaken Twitter in the blink of an eye.
Meta did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment on whether it would also launch on the Google Play Store. The debut comes after Twitter announced a slew of restrictions on its app. Musk said users would have a limited number of posts they could read per day to address extreme levels of data scraping and system manipulation. Benvey says it's really further evidence of the troubles that have plagued the network under its new owner.
Since Elon Musk took over, the system itself isn't working as well as it should. Just over the weekend, we saw Twitter go down and then limits put in place for users so that it doesn't break the servers again.
Users will also need to be verified in order to use TweetDeck, a popular app for viewing and managing Twitter accounts. The announcement came in a tweet detailing an improved version of TweetDeck with new features. Musk's latest moves have sparked a fierce backlash from Twitter users. Ad experts say they would also undermine new CEO Linda Yaccarino, who started in the role last month.
Twitter has been experiencing increased amounts of data scraping, according to Elon Musk, who of course is now the owner of Twitter. And that data scraping is causing performance issues. So Elon announced that they would be temporarily putting limits on viewership of tweets. There's a lot of speculation as to why this is happening, what's going on, what the real reason is. There is one theory that because of the rise in interest in AI, especially generative AI, that there are companies and bots that are doing data scraping on publicly available Twitter information in order to train AI models. So that is one theory that's out there, but regardless of the reason, this is yet another issue that has come up in this theme of Twitter chaos that has existed ever since Elon Musk took over the platform.
So how will Threads impact the newscape of social media? Let's try and dig in deeper with my guest today. I'm joined in by Darius Rafaian, who's the senior correspondent at Insider. Many thanks to you, Darius, for joining in. Now, news of the launch of Threads is coming after a messy last few days at its rival Twitter. There were several changes made that also made it difficult for users to browse through the service. At such a time, would Twitter users bail on the service and download the app?
I think that whenever it comes to an app or social media, you definitely shouldn't underestimate the value of convenience. I mean, with 2 billion users already within Meta's ecosystem, I think it's going to be a very easy decision for many people to simply fire up Threads and seamlessly be on it. And I also don't know how many Twitter users really have much of a deep loyalty to Twitter itself, especially now that there's these severe limits on how much you can use it, and not to mention all of the sort of reputational issues that have come about in the wake of Elon Musk's acquisition of the company. So I think that anyone looking at this objectively has to admit that this is a real threat to Twitter at a very vulnerable time.
All right, there is, given that Meta, which is the developer of Threads, also formerly known as Facebook, makes its money from tracking and profiling web users via its behavioral advertising micro-targeting tools. Could this app be a privacy nightmare of sorts?
I think it's going to run into all of the same sort of privacy concerns that Facebook is already facing. They've already said that they are going to delay launching Threads in the European Union, where they have been facing some real scrutiny from regulators there, perhaps more so than in any other jurisdiction. They've faced hundreds of millions of dollars in fines. There are some regulatory decisions in Europe that could threaten the basic business model of Meta. So I do think that there are very clearly some privacy concerns. Now, the extent to which that's going to be enough of a roadblock, particularly in jurisdictions like the U.S. or the U.K., I'm not so sure. I mean, as you mentioned in your package, or as the guest mentioned, they only need a few hundred million users to completely overtake Twitter, and considering that they have close to 2 billion using some Meta product on a daily basis, I think that the privacy concerns are absolutely on people's minds at Meta. I don't think it will be a fundamental roadblock to the success of the product.
It's interesting you mentioned the numbers, because that's exactly what I was coming to next. Twitter claims to have enlisted about 250 million global users, and that's substantially fewer than the billions who use Facebook and Instagram. What will Threads mean for not just in terms of numbers, but for the ongoing tussle between Zuckerberg and Musk?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, much has been made about this cage match that may or may not be happening in the
Right.
Roman Colosseum. I don't place a whole lot of stock in that. But beyond that, Zuckerberg has had his eye on Twitter for a long time. He very famously was quoted in Nick Bilton's book, Hatching Twitter, as saying that Twitter was such a mess. It's like if somebody drove a clown car into a gold mine. And I think that he and Meta largely has been looking to disrupt the sort of ground that Twitter has occupied for a long time. So I think that whatever personal business rivalry exists between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, it's really going to play out in this sphere, in the product sphere, in the app sphere, rather than in the cage. But I think, listen, most of the main big consumer facing innovations that Meta has had over in recent years, whether it's Reels or Stories, have essentially been, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, have essentially been lifted from competitors, whether it's Snap or TikTok. And in this case, it seems like a fairly transparent effort to kind of do what Twitter is doing, except better, except a little bit less toxic, except a little bit more functional. So, I mean, this is definitely, I think, has to be seen as the sort of latest salvo in the Zuckerberg v. Musk ongoing fight.
All right, fair enough. Taking a cue from the impact that Twitter has had on the kind of newscape that we've been witnessing, we are in a very important political year, considering some of the biggest democracies are going to election next year, whether it's the United States or even where I am, that's India. What is the kind of significance that you see, or the kind of contribution you see a tech app like Threads bringing to the ongoing landscape of news per se?
Yeah, it's obviously a major factor. If 2016 was sort of the election of Twitter, you could argue that maybe this US election coming up, maybe the election of TikTok, or maybe it'll be Threads. I'm not so sure about that. But the fact remains that much of our political discourse and much of our cultural discourse is happening on these platforms, many of which are not the most transparent, many of which have privacy problems, have misinformation problems. I don't think any one of these social media companies has really made a compelling case that they know how to deal with these problems. And also, they are economically rewarded in some way for many of these problems.
Right.
When misinformation does great numbers on Facebook or Instagram, that is helpful to the bottom line of Meta or TikTok or whoever it is. So I think that it's going to continue to be an issue, and no one has really made a compelling argument that they know how to deal with it, I
All
think.
right.